mine, ain't no way I'll miss. Gonna teach, not just tantalize. With Wildman, Cashflow will arise. We in the groove with this cash flow. We in the groove with this cash flow.
Go live. We are live. It's got Philip live right on the screen there. So, original sound.
There you go. Live stream.
I'll be right back.
Gonna kick off the grind with a sip. Yeah. With the wild man's wisdom, we never skip. Pouring out tips while the records flip.
Let's get it on.
Alpha and Stephen cashing in on the mix. Pour it, baby. Stir it up with the wild man.
Ruin plans in the morning mist. Focus mind, ain't no way I'll miss. Gonna teach, not just tantalize. With Wildman, Cashflow will arise. We in the groove with this cash flow. We in the groove with this cash flow. We in the groove with AIs, know how. We in the groove for the now. Digits rise, AI synchronize. Money talks under watchful eyes. It talks to you till like high. Oh, change in our pockets, future's clear view with precision. Wild men we pursue. Streams of green flowing in our grasp. AIs in sight, our breath of gas. We on the climb with this cash flow. Wild man's got it. Oh, let the funds roll.
Sipping on this coffee, getting minds right. Watch the numbers rise up like daylight. AI scale the insights, keep the path tight. Find the balance in the sheets, that's the cash fight. Hit the ground running, breaking molds with trending. Chase the paper trails, our pockets always extending. Every cent, every quarter we defending. Modern day hustle in the ledger we be blending. Okay, the vibe so mellow, beats to chill with. Trust in algorithms, let the codes enrich.
All right. Looks like our intro video's done there. Let's go ahead.
Did I write that, Nathan?
Absolutely. Yep.
That's pretty damn good.
It's pretty cool. How long did it take you to do that, Nathan?
30 seconds. Now, I also made about 40 different variations. So I just kept hitting more and more prompts in there to try to find what I really liked. What's that?
We're all gonna be replaced.
Right. Well, sort of. I mean, it's pretty good from the way I look at it, right? But it's still not going to be the same as having a real band, right? It's never going to beat that. It's going to be great for things like intro videos, right?
Yeah.
That's definitely what I think. And I think I'm going to put us in gallery, so we'll have a view of everybody on the live stream. So welcome to Coffee and Cashflow with Wildman. We've got special guests today. We've got Alpha Freeman calling in all the way from Germany. We've got Stephen Lesky. Did I say that right, Stephen? Nope. All right, so correct me, my friend.
Don't worry about it. It's Leshy.
Stephen Leshy calling in from New York. And I've got Philip Lang joining me today. And Philip, I forget where you're located.
San Diego.
Sunny San Diego. So it's early morning for you and late afternoon for you, right, Alpha?
There's the sun right there.
Yeah, there you go. I had to open the blinds. I can see that, absolutely. So this is kind of the first pilot show I've got with special guests. So I think I'd like to kind of open this up and let you guys introduce yourself to everybody and kind of tell everybody what you're about real quick, and then we'll start talking about coffee or cash flow, whichever subject you want to start with.
I'm a team man, so
Yep. All right, Alpha, how about you go first, my friend?
Hey guys, my name is Alpha Freeman. I'm originally from Columbus, Ohio, so I'm an Ohio State big fan. Go Bucks. I'm currently located here in Frankfurt, Germany. I'm the host of the Next Generation Business Talk and also the Young Entrepreneur and Up and Coming. All right, guys. Particularly speaking, I specialize in the making of skincare products. At the same time, I'm also open to growing and building and networking myself out there. Again, thanks so much, Nathan, for having me on board. Looking forward to talking and also indulging more about cash flow and coffee.
Yep. All
What do
right,
you
great.
specialize in, Alpha? You're
Yeah, you're a little quiet, Alpha.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't get a chance to set up the mic, I bet, right?
Let me hold up.
All right, we'll come back to you. We'll let you say it all over again. All right, Stephen, your turn, my friend.
yeah, my name is Stephen Leshy, originally from New York. I live in Jersey now. And I help small business owners, sales leaders, and sales professionals in selling practices, skills, techniques, processes, and I include mindfulness because of the introduction of a long time of mental health in the our new world now.
Right.
So I include mindfulness, and I do it through coaching, training, and consulting.
Nice, nice. And Philip, my friend?
I have a company called Maximize Net Income, and I've gathered together a number of tools that help companies improve their bottom line and boost their bottom line without risk. A no-cost benefit for preventive wellness, expense reduction, entity structuring for optimal taxation, and also especially tax studies primarily for real estate owners to increase their deductions and credits.
Yep. And I know we've all kind of had our own time to get to know each other individually, so I really appreciate all of you guys coming in today. One of the things I kind of want to talk about is like business owners' perception of what cash flow is. A lot of times you'll get some business owners that'll be like, their eyes will light up when you start talking about cash flow. Then you get other ones that are just like, blah. So I kind of want to hear your perspectives of what you see out there and where a lot of small businesses don't pay attention to what really the cash flow is. So I've got a true or false question coming up in the next couple of days on I think I put it on all of my pages, that kind of asks, what is, if you are having a positive cash flow, that means your profits are up. And I'd like to see what your response is. Is that a true or false statement?
Is it the perception or reality?
Reality, 100%. I like to work in reality, although you have to take into mind the business owners or the entrepreneur's perspective, right?
Right. I used to work for a payroll company, and I sold about 1,000 clients, and a lot of it had to do with cash flow. A whole bunch of it had to do with cash flow. Perception is cash flow is the money I bring in.
Yeah.
It's perception.
Absolutely.
That is 100% the perception, but that's not the truth, though, is it, Stephen? No. Cash flow is not just the money you bring in. It's the whole cycle. It's your inflows and your outflows, and how they balance. And you can be extremely profitable, or at least let's change that word. You could be bringing in a lot of sales and have negative cash flow.
Correct.
Yep.
Yeah. And you can be focusing.
Losing money.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And you can be focusing. So what I find, and when I've been talking to a lot of business owners, is they seem to focus on those inflows. And they feel like they're either failing or they're really successful just because sales are going really well. And it gets down to a whole lot of things. Like when you start to think about it, you could be having a lot of sales but be having a hard time with labor costs, and that could be killing you while your sales are up. And then you could also be having, obviously, your cost of your overhead could be extremely high too. So I'll stop talking for a minute. And Alpha, are you all set up? Did you want to give another shout out and tell everybody who you are where we could hear you a little better?
Absolutely. Does this sound better now?
Yes.
All right. Perfect. Hi guys, my name is Alpha Freeman. I'm originally from Columbus, Ohio, but I'm currently based here in Frankfurt, Germany. I'm the host of the Next Generation Business Talks. So particularly speaking, I interview entrepreneurs, sales business owners from all around the world. You name it, from the US all the way to Australia. And they basically talk about what they're doing in day-to-day business acumen, whether if you're in retail, whether if you're in cash flow management, whether if you're just a consumer buying product. My job is to interview and basically showcase that into the global internet. But particularly speaking, I'm also focused on the growth and development asset in regards to light and agriculture industry. Currently, I'm actually looking for people to actually connect with and build with. And that's a whole different topic on there. I'll have my information to drop down below so we can talk more about that.
Yeah.
Again, thanks so much, Nathan, for having me on board.
Yeah,
Looking forward to
absolutely.
talking more about cash flow. I definitely did have a lot of information and things going on here, particularly my mentor, Ms. Lisa Simmons, who taught me so much about cash flow as an entrepreneur. So I can definitely go on board in here and go some more. Again, thanks a lot, guys. Let's
Awesome.
get it.
Awesome. So where were we? What was I just talking about? I stopped for Alpha, and then I forgot where our flow
Awesome,
of conversation was. Yes.
Well, you're talking about cash flow.
Yes.
And, what I was going to say is that when people ask you, the first question they ask people is that, how much you made? And that's really gross. People talk about
Yeah.
gross.
Yeah.
It's the whole perception is how much you made this year. I made $2.5 million. And they never say my net is $12.
Right. Right.
There
might be something wrong if it's 2.5 and then your net's 12. Then we definitely got to talk if you're there.
You're a loser then. You're a loser. You just, you don't know how to run a business,
Yeah.
So I think that's part of the whole psyche behind it,
Yeah. And, it's funny. So I started using the term cash flow, and I remember I was doing the School of Leadership, and it was like my first speaking gig, and I kind of got thrown into it, and I was nervous as hell kind of getting up there and talking. And I did a lot of ums, that's for sure. And we went into talking about it, and I mentioned something about helping businesses with cash flow. And I remember there was I'm trying to remember the name of the church, but I'll put all my information down below. But her eyes just lit up. She goes, no businesses understand cash flow really, and that is really what they need to understand. Yep. And it's a cycle. I mean, and it's also planning. It's also strategic. Like, we could get started on how a lot of small businesses don't have most of their operational or foundations put into place correct. Because a lot of times people they're again so focused on the selling part or the customer part or the new contract part or the I need more clicks on my website part. Any of those things, that's where they really focus on, and they feel like that's what makes it or breaks it. Of course, that's where a lot of solution sellers will sell from is we'll get you more leads, we'll get you more clients, we'll get you more clicks, we'll get you more SEO. And that's great, but when you really don't understand what those things mean, you're just throwing money at people who have solutions, and you don't really understand what you're getting your return on investment, right? You might end up getting a whole lot more sales, but your profits could still be low.
Right. That's why I went into consulting. So again, I work with like 1,000 clients, and I saw how bad people are educated. I mean, it used to be days years ago where you work for like a pizza shop. You work for a guy for 10 years, and you bought him out, or you bought another pizza shop. Hey, now people get their 401, they get a big chunk of money, $40,000-$50,000. Or I could open a business. And he says, a cook, well, let me open a restaurant. I walked in a guy, he had gorgeous place, looked like a franchise. I said, oh, this is pretty cool. Franchise? He goes, no, we want to be. I'm like, okay, that's the wrong answer. I said, how much is that hood up there? He goes, 20. I said, 25 grand. He goes, yes. How much you got in the bank? He goes, 10 grand. I'm like, I walked out. I said, that's it. I know he's going to be dead in 2 months, 3 months. And he's,
did you say that he did buy a franchise, but he was trying to say that
he didn't even open up yet. He wanted to become a franchise. It looked like a franchise, so he did the right drop inside. But he didn't open a door yet, and he wanted to become a franchise. And I try to explain to him, franchise is the market congratulating you and thanking you for having a great system, and we'll participate in it after you get everything done.
Right.
You didn't want to.
Yeah. McDonald's didn't start out as a franchise. They started out as a burger joint and then learned to franchise after that.
Yeah, and don't understand the whole cycle, and part of it is a cash flow cycle. I've seen so many people go out of business because of cash flow. It's
Oh,
disgusting. It's heartbreaking.
Right.
It's like heartbreaking.
it's like
You know,
82% of businesses fail due to cash flow alone.
True.
it's heartbreaking.
So
It really
about
hurt
the
me.
net.
Like I walk in and this guy's out of business in 2 months, and there's nothing you can do about it. You lost $100,000.
Were you going to say something, Philip?
I say it's all about the net.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
about the
Yeah.
net.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's your bottom line. You got to look at everything, and you got to look at it in a holistic approach. And here's the thing: when you get into, I liked what you were saying there, Stephen, about the mindset, because it really is. I mean, it's more of a looking at things when you're looking at it long term, but you're also looking at your whole picture, and your mindset could keep you away from mastering your cash flow. I mean, you could be having your business, but you're constantly focused on one thing, you're going to lose it out, or you are so driven one way or another, or when I guess here's what really ends up happening is the stress of running the business or being an entrepreneur yourself, especially when they're in those small early stages, can get so much that if you don't have a strong mindset, you are almost setting yourself up for failure, right? And it comes down to things like I was just contributing to an article on LinkedIn the other day talking, and I was like, I don't want to contribute to this one because it asked me to, and it was talking about diet, and I was like, LinkedIn, are you telling me I need to go on a diet, right? But it was talking about diet as a business owner and business management. How much does diet come into it? And I was just kind of thinking that really ties into mindset, because it's like you need to keep your body well, you need to keep your mind well, and you need to keep active, because those bouts of depression or those bouts of like running into a problem, or let's say you end up having, because of the stress of owning a business, your marriage falls apart, right? I mean, have you seen that before, Philip? Where people were,
I'm sure it happens.
yeah.
I haven't seen it directly, but yeah.
I mean, I've seen it.
I've seen it too. I used to run a divorce support group, and I've seen that happen.
Yeah.
Where I mean, just money was just such an issue. And that's a lot of problems that comes up.
Yeah.
But that's why when I talk about mindfulness, I talk about motivation, I talk about meditation, I talk about breath work, I talk about depression. I mean, 20% of the general population suffers from depression, and salespeople is 40%. Right? So if you look at salespeople and business owners, very similar. The only difference, maybe the salesperson has a little more support under it.
Yeah.
And then you're talking about 3% of the population suffers from bipolar disorder. And entrepreneurs, it's 11%.
Yeah.
Things we don't talk about. Yeah, we don't talk. And someone said, "Why is that?" I said, "It's probably because you can't hold the job down."
Right.
I told her, and you go, and you're like, "Let me start my own job. At least I can hide a little bit." But yeah, we don't talk about mental health at all.
No.
I talk about it.
No,
It's a big
that's
part of
so
it.
true.
In the survey, the number one reason why salespeople fail is they don't make meaningful connections. Number two is that they're overstressed, overwhelmed. Number three is not staying motivated, and number four is not being coached, trained properly.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the top things, and that's what I address. But those things are nothing. None of it's talked about in business or in sales. It's all about getting leads and getting sales.
And think about, and I'll let you chime in here, Alpha, as well, because I know you were going to say something. But if you think about like high performance sales teams or those aggressive sales teams, right? And they kind of cultivate that culture of stressful situations and not even looking at the mindfulness because they're driven on those sales, right? Where I think a good sales team looks at those long-term effects and make sure you go through it right. And I can take back to a lot of my experience working in the automobile industry because there's that high aggressive kind of sales mentality, and you've got monthly and everything works this way, and it's aggressive. I always used to think of it as working in a shark tank, right? Because who knows who's going to start just walking all over, and it was always hard for me because that's not who I am to work in those realms. But I was able to build those relationships and put the value as much as I could into just the people buying cars, right? Especially the people that had really bad credit, because that's what I specialized in. But Alpha, go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said earlier, Stephen, the mental health side of things is just one of those things where I think a lot of time in the business world, people don't really tend to put too much focus and emphasis on it at all. Especially right now, we're on a cash flow subject. And one thing that I want to touch base a lot on is the discipline side of things. I think a lot of times most people don't really tend to understand regards to what it means to be an entrepreneur or anything in general. You know, it's easy to start a business, but also it's a different thing in regards to managing and maintaining it. And that comes far as to planning and management. And that consistency asset that goes along with the planning and also the discipline asset in regards to going up and down in that cash flow management, I think is something that most people aren't prepared for. No matter how much classes you take, no matter what is it that you have background, it just comes down to having that self-discipline, that strong mindset to realize that, okay, things are going to be okay, things are not going to be okay, but I'll still persevere regardless of the circumstances. And that's something I, as a young entrepreneur and up and coming, I was learning as I go on a consistent day-to-day basis, because I realize it's not all sunshine and rainbow. You know, we can talk so much about numbers, but at the end of the day, reality sticks in.
May I ask you, Alpha, how old are you?
I'm 27 years old.
No, I'm thinking because of the generational differences.
No,
The reason I mention that is because the reason I mention that is, and I talk to most of my clients are under 40 years old, 35 years old. Most of my clients, but and I try to explain to generation whatever that a lot of the younger generation, they have less hope than I had. You know, you had a lot of struggles, but there was always hope, and
Right.
a lot of it comes from fear. You
Yes.
know, the anxiety of fear, because you think about it, the aftermath of 9/11 is still there. Then you have the school shooting, files. People think this it. Then you have the recession, and then you have the pandemic, and there's no safety net anymore in their minds.
COVID.
Part there,
Yeah,
you know,
as we said, the pandemic.
COVID.
Yeah, and they had like, why am I doing this? And I can only trust myself. But at the same time, I'm fearful and I lack hope.
Yeah.
So it's really a hard part to be in, and they're really starving for people to talk to them and help them with that process.
Yeah.
The problem is they also have to look perfect because of social media.
Yeah.
So that's all that together. It's really
At least they
hard.
think they got to look perfect because of
That's
social
the thing.
media.
Yeah, of course. But
Right.
you know, someone who's more experienced knows that. Like, yeah, you don't have to be.
Right.
But all those things work together, and it's really hard for even entrepreneurs to really have that confidence.
Yeah.
To battle those interests that you talked about, and that's a big deal.
Well, and then you look at the other thing too is you can look at they've got all these new things coming around, and it gets even crazier when you start talking about AI. I mean, we were just talking about the theme songs I was making there when we started this out. Things are changing so quickly that it's not just a matter of like when you can think about when the internet came out. That was a slow roll, right? In the .com boom, it was kind of a slow roll. It was moving fast what we were used to. Then you can even think about high-speed internet, and you can start to think about all the social media platforms as our society and economies start to understand how this is going. That was also a slow roll. When you look at where AI is going and how fast it's changing, it is daily, if not hourly, if not weekly, and something new is coming out. And it's more along the lines of it's not companies bringing out new products. And Alf and I talked about this on, which I think we need to get edited and get out our last conversation. We were just talking about how I don't think that even like regulation is going to be able to keep up with how the advancements are happening.
Well, yes.
You know, and it's a new realm of, it's not even just like understanding, okay, so this is an AI generated video. It's understanding how you could utilize it for your business. And when it comes down to what AI really is, it's crunching data. And that's where I think that most businesses miss out, is they aren't crunching that data. They aren't utilizing the data they could be bringing in. Half the time, they don't even know. They might be paying for advertising, and they don't even know how it's really giving them that return on investment. The advertising person they're paying is probably trying to tell them, yeah, this is where you're getting and this is where your leads are coming from. And they might know, oh, this came from this lead, right? Sometimes they don't. And I think that is oftentimes one of the places they need to start is they need to be able to get that data and crunch it so that way they can know what it really means.
Well, the
Absolutely.
question
Well,
is,
Go
I was
ahead.
just going to say, what's unsettling to me is in the AI world, you don't know whether you're really talking to a person or you're being promoted by machine. And
Right.
I mean, it just depersonalizes everything to an extent that there's not a person behind it. I mean, AI
But that's
is
where you got to
the
start to
blessing, to me, the
understand those
blessing and the
differences.
curse, because
Yeah.
just like social media, just like any technology, how to use AI without we're all just reacting to the machines around us.
Well, I will say that this is me. It's not AI. And this is where I think you're going to start to see a difference.
handsome if you were AI.
Right. Yeah, I would be. Yeah, I would have been cleanly shaved and my hair would have been done.
Yeah.
But in 6 months, you'll be able to tell AI to just be you.
Well, I already have a number of AI videos of myself out there that nobody can tell the difference between when it's me or AI. So, I mean,
So that creates doubt and distrust.
true,
True.
but
I mean, not generally not
Right.
you, but just
Yeah.
generally.
yeah,
When you know
it
that,
does, and it could be totally used in the wrong method, right?
Well, that's
It
what's
could
scary.
totally be. I mean, I have already kind of gone like, oh, where do I want to make sure I'm keeping that straight line that I'm going to stay on with using this, right?
Yeah.
Because it has gotten over the last 3 months that I've been trying to master it. The technology has gotten so much better. Like I started to realize so the one program I'm using, I uploaded videos of myself. I give permission. And there's all this data options you do, so I can ask them that I want everything to be kept private. I'm one that's like, at this point I'm using this. They can use my video to train their model. That's fine. I don't have any assets in there. I'm putting my face picture videos everywhere. Somebody could be. I've already been playing whack-a-mole with people creating profiles that are using my picture, right? That's because they can just download it right off my Facebook, anywhere I'm online, right? And
Oh, yeah.
to some extent, it doesn't matter too much, but it does become something where I'm trying to kind of figure out how to control that as much as possible. I'm learning things like the options when I put on my videos and stuff that people can't download them, can't remix them, just because then they can grab it. But that doesn't stop any from somebody making a screen recording, right?
You don't have any control.
No, you don't. And I think that this is a crazy thought, but I think that copyright and your IP is gonna kind of go to the wayside. I kind of hate that, but I will not be surprised if copyright law, and especially you can start to see things happening in court where they're trying to go after because they can make it sound so close to it. And again, a direct ripoff's one thing, but it's crafting something that's totally new. It's kind of like DJs and mixing music. The copyright laws try to come in and say you can't do that, and they ultimately lost to the point where now it's just part of our society. People are mixing music, mixing stuff together. And I wouldn't be surprised if you see that kind of with being able to, and this is where it starts to get really kind of crazy and scary, doesn't it? Because we start talking about they're able to replicate and do everything. And honestly, to me, I love it because I can create so much more. I can create faster and I can be more creative with stuff.
Yeah, the thing about that is more productive, less meaningful. And that's
True.
the pushback. I push back on it all the time, and it's
Right.
down to the more and more direct mail associate put out statistics, and basically is the open rate. Okay, there's two things: open rate, and then I guess
Engagement?
believability, trust rate.
Right.
Two things. So the open rate for direct mail piece is 2%. Okay, for social media it's 8%. Email is 12%. Yeah, 12%, and then a handwritten note is almost 100%.
Yeah.
But if you look at trustworthiness, direct mail and a note far beyond. I think it's 90 something percent when you have social media and emails almost like 22%, something like that. So
Mm.
that's really, yeah, you may be more productive, but less meaningful, less trustworthy.
True.
And the more and more that I think there's less believability in AI, anything that's online, it's going to be more and more important that it's done, you know, offline.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be more impactful. And that's what I'm leading my people to. You can do everything you want to do online. That's fine. But you got to have that personal connection. The only way you're going to build that
Got to
is if
have the yin and yang of both.
you
You've got to be able to do both.
online can be supplemental to offline,
Yeah.
as opposed to reverse.
Yeah.
Think about it that way. If you do offline, it's a primary, and then online is supplemental.
Yeah.
That's going to get to the end of it.
Oh, and you're going to have the genuine just rawness of human nature will start to become a commodity, where it's things like people like us getting together right now and just having a conversation where we're real, we're raw, we're saying and just kind of having that conversation. There's going to be a point though where AI is going to be able to replicate exactly this. And
That's scary.
And it's going to be able to make it, because if you start listening to, because I communicate with mine all the time. I said, forget Google anymore. And when I need to brainstorm, so what I've been doing in the morning, I plug my headphones in, I get the talking part going, and there's one called Pi that gets more into the kind of emotional state of things, and it's more kind of just to have a conversation. But it's been great to kind of brainstorm. They just need to work on it so it can know when I'm actually done talking. It cuts me off all the time, and then I have to listen to it go through its fluff talk before it's time for me, or I have to use my phone. But the idea is I want to walk and have a conversation where it can kind of journal my thoughts, sort of thing. And that way I can kind of go, okay, so this is what I'm thinking about. Let's go into this a little bit more and brainstorm. And I want it to be able to store and keep that, or I can go right back into that raw kind of thing, which it's getting there. It's really close to being able to do exactly that.
You have a fake friend.
Well, it's not a friend. It's not a friend. That's the key, is that if you have that higher emotional status, emotional intelligence, you're going to be able to understand the difference. And for me, it's a tool I'm using, and I don't take that information, because some of them will communicate back. I will have to say, you've got to just... I did one time where I just started telling it my fears. I'm afraid of this. I'm afraid of that. I'm afraid of this. And not like spiders. Like, I'm getting ready to do this. I'm afraid I'm going to fail. I'm afraid I'm going to do this kind of stuff. It doesn't like make it all better for you, but that little bit of encouraging word as you're diving deep into it, it is helpful, right? I mean, that's where people are going to start to have, that's why people are starting to have relationships. That's why the relationship chatbots start, right? Because there is a spot where they're getting into that emotional part, but that's because they're also kind of probably lacking a little bit of emotional intelligence and whatnot. And I don't mean to like put those people down, but they haven't explored those kind of things. They haven't dug deep into their emotions, feelings, and what drives them and all of those kind of things.
I will say, however, the authenticity part of it with this whole AI stuff is causing a lot of people to lose their the self-assurance and self-control, or like they feel a bit more insecure, because just imagine right now we're having this conversation. However, there's like this AI chat box that basically tries to interact the human connection. There is no emotional intelligence, that feeling in regards to how you feel about certain things. So if she becomes too dependent upon it, it's like, the brain itself is like, okay, I don't have to write this paper. If you're in school, I can have ChatGPT write it for me,
right?
Because it's much easier. But if I do it myself, I have to utilize my brain. And what am I getting out of it? If I can just take the easier road rather than taking the hard road. So is it really helping us to an extent, or are we becoming too dependent on it to the point where we're not really becoming emotionally intelligent ourselves as human beings? Or are we just being brain waste?
I don't think we're being brain waste. There's going to be two ways people are going to start to use AI. They're going to use it where they're just lazy and taking their output on it. And they're going to use it where they use it and to help it to... What got me so into it was just getting into deep conversations about things and having it have a knowledge. Because I remember telling you this, but I'll tell you two guys this. But I remember one of the first times I was watching a Vice show on hallucinogenic honey, right? And the tribes that go and they harvest this hallucinogenic honey. And it was a very spiritual experience for them. And their whole economy was around this honey. And they did a yearly ceremonial harvesting of it where they built the ladders on the spot with all of the jungle. Everything was done with everything natural. And I started thinking, they put a lot of significance in honey in their religious practices of this tribe, right? I went, how many other religions have used honey in ceremonial practices? And I was able to start to have that conversation with AI and actually have it search the internet and come back with. So you've got your knowledge set, but then you also got to kind of check the data on it, because it does something that they call hallucinations, where it just kind of makes stuff up. And they're getting better and better and better at not having hallucinations. But there'll be some times where you just have an issue with it, which that's where now you kind of limit how people can utilize it to just make anything, because there'll be just hallucinations where there's improper data in there. But when they start to correct that, and now it can start to, so I'm getting a little off, but that's where I started playing around with it, right? Is looking into it and seeing what it could do. And what I like is it can just help me kind of brainstorm and go through my own thoughts, right? And so I've got a lot of that, and what I've started to tell myself is I need to start just focusing more on business and that kind of stuff, because you just get pulled off. I mean, when you talk about creating images, so the video we had in the beginning here, I just told InVideo AI, which is, I called it up in ChatGPT. It uses API key to then go to the InVideo app. I tell it what I want it to make, and then it just puts it in InVideo app, and then it downloads that video for me, and then I can tell it to correct things. And I'm one that I communicate to it where I'm like, you got it wrong. And I'll say, yes, you can. It'll tell me it can't do something. I'll say, yes, you can. And it might come back and go, I can't do that. And I'll say, yes, you can. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for the confusion. I can do that. And it'll start to do it. And I'll even ask it sometimes when it says I can't do that. I say, why can't you do that? And when it has to tell you why it can't, it then just goes, well, wait, I can do it. And it does do it for you. Because it's a matter of, and I do things like, give me back this response with no fluff. Meaning I don't want you to tell me anything else, right? Just give me back exactly what I'm asking and keep it this way. And what I've been getting into for businesses is starting to train on their data. And even what I've been starting to do is I will meet with a business owner and I'll just record conversations like this. And I can take the transcript and it can know the tone in which that person speaks. And I do that for a couple of them, and it trains so it starts to write things in their tone, right? And the thing is, you'll start to notice, we talked again about this alpha. You notice right away when somebody's being really lazy with AI right now. One of the giveaways is the email opens with, I hope you're doing well.
I hope you're doing well.
Yep. And I just got an email from you that said that, didn't I, Alpha? Yep.
Yeah, I just struggle with the inauthenticity of it, because I do struggle to write things I think are clear and to the point. And I read a book recently about, I think it was the Axios guys wrote a book called Brief or Smarter or something like that. So basically, you just cut out all the extraneous words and all. And it takes time, but I feel better that I wrote it myself than I didn't have some smart machine write it. And I think I spent a lot of time trying to do digital marketing in the last 6 months, and without a lot of great success. So I'm kind of reverting back to person to person relationship.
Yeah.
And my business is kind of weird because I know a lot of really high intelligence people in the exit planning is, M&A arenas, but I also know that a lot of the services I'm providing are really good for small to medium-sized businesses that are just unsophisticated and don't realize what they don't realize. and they haven't made the mistakes, that you learn so well from. So
Right.
I could point them and help them avoid some of the things. I mean, help them find the great solutions they just wouldn't discover easily by themselves.
So I wanted to take and talk a little bit about AI just a little bit more here. And I want to kind of give you guys this question of, when you think about a doctor who transcribes his notes, and then you have a human being that then listens and transcribes it, right? That used to be a big business. I'd actually would like to find some recent statistics to see how many of those businesses might be going out of business. And also think about, you might have a writer or a lawyer or somebody who's at
Lawyers
all
are
of
over,
this.
man.
Right.
Lawyers are over.
Right. And they talk to somebody who writes down what they're saying. Does that person write those words? That person would get, so a lawyer, a doctor who might even be talking, or even somebody, they might be writing a manuscript or a book. They might just talk to somebody and they actually type, right? We wouldn't say that person didn't write the book because somebody typed it for them.
That's verbatim.
Right. It's verbatim. Now, you can do the same thing with AI. You can talk to it and have it transcribe what you're saying verbatim. And now you wrote that, but AI wrote it, right?
What's his voice to text?
Well, true. But then let's say you then hired an editor to clean up that transcription, right? So you've got an editor, and you've just written a book without writing a book, right? You didn't actually type or write anything.
Anyway, okay, so let me get this right. You spoke to AI, typed what you said verbatim.
Yeah.
Okay, and then you had an editor do it. That's your book.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. AI was just a tool to record it. That was it.
Right.
Yeah. But Nathan, I thought you were going somewhere else when you talked about a doctor. Because matter of fact, I talked to a doctor yesterday, and one of his coworkers uses to write their notes down instead of typing it down. They'll write the notes down. They'll tape it, AI translate it, okay, and then they'll type it out for you. And the summary, I said, the only thing to be wary of is the summary, okay, because there's assumptions made in the summary that may not be correct.
Right.
So you can't use an evaluation analysis of, you gotta be wary of it. The analysis and the evaluation that is in the summary. Everything's verbatim, but the summary is going to bring something else to it. So that's the only thing I would think that would be, had it be with the human eyes.
Right. And now, when you start to think about the level that these compute, so we're going to start to see compute being like a new oil, compute power. And when I say that, we're talking about, when you look at just NVIDIA's chips, where have they gone and what jumps and how quickly have they gone to make your chips? I mean, what they just had a video where they made a chip where the CEO of NVIDIA or something's pulling it out of an oven in a very nice kitchen. And that's the microchip that has compute power that's stronger than way like 100 times stronger than all of our laptops put together, right? And the energy that's going to be needed for that compute power is also going to start to become a commodity. And they're already I think China's building a huge compute center. So are we. And there's just, they're looking to see who's going to have the biggest compute centers. What is that? That's just a place where you have a bunch of those giant mega chips all put together, computing and analyzing all of this data. Because when you start to talk about these large language models, we're all used to them just being on internet. But they're trying to condense them down so they can put them into a mobile device without having to have a cloud connection, right? And when you do that, what it's actually doing is it's learning to, because basically what a large language model is it's predicting the next series after you've said something, right? Mm-hmm. And as they get bigger, like the small ones they're trying to do can still do like 1.5 trillion compute power or something like that. And I'm probably using the wrong terminology here. But when you start to look at the numbers when you look at what OpenAI can do in these larger models is like way bigger than trillions, right? We're talking where it's starting to compute things. And when you start to talk about it being able to make video, it's taking slices and it has to start to learn physics. That's the problem they had when they started putting these out, is they didn't understand how physics worked. So it has to give it a almost three-dimensional understanding of the world in itself. It couldn't just understand this is what the video is and make it a replica of it. It had to understand that when we're making a ball, it's got to bounce according to what physics looks like, so it doesn't get all distorted and look funky. And when you start to think about this, go ahead. You got to go, Phil.
guys.
All right,
Sorry.
Philip, thank you for joining
Nice
us.
joining you all and meeting.
All right. All right.
Thank you.
So yeah, I mean, it's crazy. That's where we're gonna go, and it's right around the corner.
Thanks for scaring me.
What's that?
Thanks for scaring me. That's just scary. Well, no matter of
Oh,
fact.
yeah. Are you scared now?
No. So I started out as a business consultant. I said, okay, it's a dime a dozen. Okay. And then I said, okay, so let me go into sales consulting and train. And I said, I'm going to add mindfulness because no one's going to go to AI and say, let's talk about sales and mindfulness. Okay. That's something most people won't go for. Okay.
Right.
Like that's something that those two things don't go together, kind of thing. So I say, well, that's where I should go because AI is going to have a rougher time, taking me over, than the guy who's just saying you can go sales, you can look at videos, you can do whatever you want to do. Then no one's going to talk about, okay, so when you're at a fall and you're right before you get there and your adrenaline's going up, okay, and then they call up and say, I can't make it, your adrenaline starts going down. Let it go down too far, get a cup of coffee in it, it's hard to get back up. What do you do in that process? They're not going to ask AI that question, okay?
Yeah.
So I can explain it to that, and I can go into that. So that's why I chose that route.
Well, and mindfulness is a key to success, whether it's in business or life. If you don't have a good mindset, you're gonna struggle, and you're probably not gonna get to that. And it kind of gets into that discipline versus motivation. Motivation is like a temporary drug just to kind of get you going. Motivation's like the soundtrack you put on before you run, right? But discipline is getting up every morning and going for your run.
Yeah.
Well, you don't feel like it.
Right, when you don't feel like it.
You don't want to do it. That's where discipline comes into play.
Well, there's a lot of parts to it, and I developed this whole training program, and they say, well, and I go through, mindfulness, I go through making connections with people, how do you show your value to people, and then preparing for adversity. And I said, it has nothing to do with sales, it has to do with life. If you follow these four programs and basically from each four, that's life. It's how to communicate, how to relate to people, how to build empathy, how to be curious about people. It's about how to stay motivated. It's all about motivation and demotivation, how to be patient, how to be, peaceful, all these things that have to do with life. It's nothing to do with sales. But when I explain to people, like, yeah, that's right. But sales is a microcosm of life. That's why I love it so much.
If you're an entrepreneur, go ahead, Alpha.
Yeah, that's really good right there. You stated that, Stephen, because I just realized that, because one thing about the whole business acumen, it's like, okay, you want to be that salesperson, that business guy that everyone looks up to, or you have your numbers right, your cash flow right, everything. But also there's that authentic side that comes from within, that comes from understanding the moral values in regards to, okay, knowing how to communicate with people, knowing how to speak the right time, knowing how to actually be patient with yourself and having a pure and clean heart, not trying to screw someone over. I mean, these are all things that actually implement to the whole business acumen that people don't really tend to not talk about quite much, because why? They only see the end result, not becoming the person that you're destined to be, to become that business owner. Nobody talks about that. They only want to see, oh, this is the grandissimo person.
Exactly. I talk about how the sausage is made.
Right. No business owner and entrepreneur.
No business. No.
Right.
You know what? No. I learned a long time ago when I was selling payroll, and it's very difficult. You have to walk the line. I'm sure you guys are coming to this. Where you listen to a client, you're like, this is going nowhere. He's going to fail. Burn, forget about it. Burn and crash. At the same time, there's 1 in a million that actually survive. Right? how do you not spoil his dream and drink him down or turn him off to you and try to give some constructive help? It's very hard to do because you're like, okay, well, I think you should try this. And you know, it's not going to work. There's one in a million that does, and that's what they look for. And that's the hard part. You know, when you like, also, if you're trying to sell them, you're like, you know, you're going to fail. That's one guy who I knew was going to fail before I sat down with him. He told me his plan. I said, well, okay, that's kind of, you know, kind of hard to do, blah, 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 blah. And you got to like play where, you know, it's not going to work, guy, but you can't say that because he's not going to work with you then.
I like to talk about it like, you know, it's kind of hopey, right? Like they come in with this, like they're just full of hope with no reality. And they feel like it's going to be like winning the lottery. Like they're just going to be successful and it's just going to happen and they're going to do this or that thing and it's going to work out.
It's like, oh, I'm a nice guy. I have this grand business idea. I'm the only person who's thinking about this, but I know that I have a pure heart. Eventually it's going to work out. But actually, you have to go through a process. And that process is something that most people don't want to go through.
Nobody wants to talk about no business owner or entrepreneur wants to talk about the change work that they got to go through and the things that they got to leave behind and lose.
The mindset
to get there.
I had this conversation with a guy, a young guy. And I said, okay, so I said, you guys, listen to the client. He goes, yeah, he just got out of jail. Okay? A lot of my clients are in jail. And so he goes, I said, you got a business? He goes, yeah. Anybody help you with it? He goes, oh, yeah, I get this old Jewish guy to help me. I said, okay, that's good. Right. And I said, are you ready to lose half your friends? He goes, what are you talking about? I said, you lose. He goes, what are you talking about? That's my brothers. You know, I go, no, you're going to lose half your friends. He goes, no, you don't know me. You're going to lose half your friends. I said, what's going to happen is you're going to call you up next. You're going to call you in a week and say, and you say, let's hang out. He goes, I got to work. A week later, they call you up and say, let's hang out. I got to work. 3 weeks from now, they're going to say, they're going to stop calling you one day. Right? Yep. And you got to understand, you got to get new friends around you that think the same way you do. And that's the hard part.
Yeah.
The number one reason why college kids fail is the sociability.
Yeah.
True. It's not hard work, it's the sociability. And that's the thing about it no one talks about.
Right.
And we don't prepare for that. We don't prepare for the social aspect of it.
I want to touch base on that because one thing about that is also like the fear of just being alone or just doing your own thing. Because a lot of people like, you know, like myself, for example, when I moved abroad to pursue my dream and things of that nature, it's scary as heck, you know, because why? You're alone. You don't have no friends, no family members. But it's also that part of you that comes in and realizes, okay, it's okay because you're not really alone if you have faith within yourself and knowing that someone is out there guiding you and protecting you throughout the whole process. So throughout that whole process, I lost a lot of friends. Some of them thinking I'm better than them. Some of them thinking, oh, I'm crazy, whatever the situation might be. But it's okay because you find new people that actually pivots you to the right point. And that's something that I think a lot of people don't want to do. They think, okay, I want to get to this point, but I want to bring all of my friends along with me so we can all be in the same boat. It doesn't work like that. That boat's going to sink.
Yeah, it's going to sink. But yeah, and that's what we don't teach. I mean, they don't teach that in any school that I went to. Or I don't think they get taught it. And there's very few colleges that have entrepreneurial, classes in. But I don't know if they teach that. I mean, I've never come across it, and that's what that's the hard part.
Yeah.
Like you try to recognize, okay, so you understand that there's a possibility you're going to fail. How are you going to handle it? How do you prepare for it? How do you prepare when
it's not even possible? You are going to fail multiple times. And if you don't fail multiple times, there's no way to succeed. There's no way. I mean, it is guaranteed.
Wait, no, the funny thing about it is that I was watching this actor, I forgot who it was, and they were talking about Tom Cruise. He had a conversation with Tom Cruise, and he was saying, how do you do those crazy stunts? He goes, jumps off the roof and everything like that. So he goes, Tom goes, I've been thinking about this for 10 years, and I finally get a chance to do it. So I went to the safety guy and said, I want to do this. The safety guy goes, you're crazy, you can't do it. And so Tom goes, so what'd you do next? I got a new safety guy. They're like, you're not telling me what I hear. We're out of here. And right. They went, all right. That's the balance you have to do. And that's the hard part is that you have to actually balance. Say, I want to be honest with you, but I told one of my clients the other day, matter of fact, he's trying to do life insurance. one of the hardest things you can do is life insurances because it's all commission. They don't train you or coach you. And I said, look, I'm going to train you, coach you as well as I can for this job or the next. Because I know in the back of my mind, he's not going to be able to do this. He's got cash for another 2 or 3 months, and that's it. And he's not going to be able to, because you need 1 or 2 years of cash to survive in life insurance, and then you start making money.
Right.
And I had to
because there's the residuals that end up coming out, and that's where the people who are making really good money. It's the time they put in.
Yeah, right. But it's so I had to put in his seed in his mind, this job or the next. I can't tell him you're going to fail, but I'm going to have to put that seed in his mind. So.
Well, and I think that, I've heard many stories where some of the best presenters are where they talk about their failures, right? Yeah. Because when you have that idea that you're not going to fail, or you have to be making enough money, and so that if this doesn't happen, your whole world falls apart. Well, you better just stick to the job that's got the paycheck coming in, because if you aren't ready to fail, because I remember I was young, I was installing cable, right? 1099 contract would be my first kind of own my own business kind of thing, right? So I'm installing cable. I'm up at these multi-million-dollar mansions where they come in for a couple weeks, a year, in Northport up here. And they were just getting high-speed internet put into that area, right? So I'm wiring up this complete house. I'm there, and it's like 8 o'clock at night in the middle of the summer. And the guy just kind of asked me, and he goes, "What are you still doing here? Don't you have a family and stuff?" I'm like, "I got to work hard." And I'm just talking about my work ethic. And like, I got to feed the family. I'm out here. You had the job that needed to be done. I didn't want to not do it. Well, why don't you have dinner? So he asked me to sit down and have dinner with him. So I did. And one of the first things he said is that if you want to continue to own and start your own business, like ask me like what my goals and ambitions were. And he's like, well, if you want to start your own business, then you have to understand that you're going to not make money for 5 years, and you're going to fail multiple times before you succeed. And if you don't do those things, then you're probably doing something wrong, and you're going to fail really hard down the line. And I've always kind of stuck in my head. Like, you got to look at that long term, and you got to be ready that when something doesn't. So, and failing could be, you're making those first, it could just be in the sales process. It could also be in the, like, you've taken on some clients, and then, like, you either have to give them their money back, or you have to right the wrong somewhere, you lose some money, right? And so I did that with my repossession business. What sucked is as we were starting to make money, and we were 3 years in, that's when I lost the marriage and the business all in the same 2 days. But that's a different story for a different time.
Oh, man.
The thing about that is that, on the other hand, you've been told if you work hard, keep your nose to the grindstone, you're going to make it. And they don't say, you're going to make it after 5 attempts. Yeah. It's the only people I hear is, I'm going to make it. If I just work hard, I'm going to make it. It's guaranteed. I just work hard. It's guaranteed I'm going to make it.
It's the hustle.
If you hustle hard enough,
it's the grind.
Make it. And
doesn't work like that.
You can, but it's not for a lot of people.
Right.
It's not a lot of people, and people don't realize that. I had this one guy who was, I got him online, as a matter of fact, and he called me and said, "I need help." So he wanted to, he had a flooring store, retail, and he wanted to go to commercial. Okay, and I'm working with him, and for a couple of months, and everything's going well. He's starting to build some momentum, and he goes, "Steve, I got to close the store down." I go, "Why?" He says, "I have too much debt. I can't do it anymore." But you'll go. He goes, "I just can't. I can't afford it." He just closed the store down because he didn't have that idea of you're going to fail.
Right.
You have to prepare to succeed, but you're not prepared to succeed. He hasn't prepared to succeed because he had all this debt, which I understand. Instead of saying, "Let's settle debt. Let me start all over again," he said, "Let me just try again while I'm doing it." And he didn't want to admit the fact that he's failing.
And it kind of comes down to when you start a business, you got to be ready to fail. You've got to understand when you're going to fail. You've got to understand what you're going to lose when you become successful. And that's what most people don't really understand. What are you going to lose when you become successful? And and you're going to have to do a lot of inward changing to really be successful, right? And there are people that don't have to do that, but you'll also see that they might ride that train for a while, but when you can talk about Tony Robbins will say this all the time, that he deals with a lot of really successful and wealthy people that are extremely unhappy, and just they don't feel successful because they've got everything, but the whole inner part of why they do everything, they didn't go through that change work, right? And they kind of they need to go through that change work, but then he charges them $1 million to work with them, right? So
even better.
Right.
Your pain, my pleasure.
Right. And that even comes down to, I think that a lot of small business entrepreneurs, they also don't start to realize that they have to change their mindset and their mentality when it comes around to big numbers. Like, if you don't understand the difference where $1 million does not seem like a lot, because it's not a lot of money, right? And when you understand that $1 million is not a lot of money, you then start to go, okay, so when I reach that, there's a whole lot more to go for, right?
Yep.
Yeah. I had this guy I'm working with, and I said, the thing about it is that I go to him and I said, you know what it is? You have a $10 million business. You haven't hired enough people to see it. That's it. You have 10 million, and you just haven't hired enough people to see it yet.
Right.
But that's what you. And so I kept saying, when it goes into those little mindset, I get $10 million business. You got to think you're hiring a person, though. You're hiring your future CEO. You're hiring your future finance manager. Nothing to hire.
Right.
You're hiring finance. And then you got to start to have the mindset. This is what you're doing. You're not hiring somebody just to do your books. You're hiring somebody to be a VP of finance. They'll grow with you. But you got to find someone who's willing to grow with you and learn, and that way. But you got to be in mindset. You're $10 million.
Yeah. And I think that when you also look at a lot of successful businesses and entrepreneurs, they usually get somebody in their corner that's helping them with not only everything, but maybe one specific thing. But most of them do get a coach or a mentor when they become successful. And very few of them don't have that. And it's kind of like that, it's who you surround yourself with, and it's who you're letting influence yourself. And when you talk to every great leader and business leader, that is the key.
True.
That they have somebody in their corner, or they have somebody that they're looking to that has done it already. I mean, you learn from the greatest minds, right?
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So, well, I think we gave the audience some extra time. Anything else you guys would like to talk about before we go? Right? Yeah. We've just been having a great conversation.
This is great.
I take companies back.
Right.
Yeah.
I'll put an AI version of you over on the things you want me to edit out.
Just make them younger and handsomer.
There you go. Yeah.
Welcome. But definitely, this is great. For any listeners out there, guys, young and old, no matter the generation that you're in, understanding the business world, it's a process. You can't avoid that process. No matter what you try to do, no matter, what your circumstances are, just go through that process, understand and realize that you're going to change as a person, that you're destined to become, that character you're destined to become. And just be patient, and again, with this whole AI stuff that's going on nowadays, don't be so quick to compare yourself to other people on social media or other entrepreneurs or other people, because you don't know the path that they took. Focus on your path and focus on your studies, and most importantly, understand your cash flow management. It's all about having a disciplined mindset. Again, thanks a lot, Nathan, and Steven.
Absolutely.
Thanks a lot. Also.
Pleasure having you on. This is great. I don't know if we I'll have to ask Philip. Maybe he probably had to go right at 11, or at 12, but didn't know if we were scaring him off because we were all talking over him, and that is the problem. So when we do it,
I'm sorry.
No, you're good, because I do it too. I was doing it with Alpha when we were doing an episode for his show. He kept handing well, let's get back on the topic, Nathan. But that's kind of where I wanted to make these a little bit more open. And I'll play around with, maybe next time I do it, I might change it so it goes to each speaker, because I'm just realizing as I try to broadcast this out in the gallery view, it worked great when we had 4. It made a full screen, but now we've got gray on either side, so I'll see how that does. But there's and next one, I've got to get my OBS all lined up so I can multi-stream across different platforms. I thought I had it all set to go last night and did a little little play this morning, and nothing was lining up. Music wasn't, and my audio wasn't, and I was just like, I'm not going into this with all of these layers of problems that I could have. I'm just going to go old school, just stick to Facebook for today. So,
Perfect.
yeah. Well, thank you, gentlemen. Steven, anything you want to say before we go?
I just want to say something that Alpha said is that, I think, life is like an onion. Okay, so we're the center of the onion, and what life does puts upon us, puts upon, our school, our parents, our religion, and they give you our values and what we believe ourselves are. And the whole part of life is on taking that all out and bring those leaves back and really showing yourself. And I'm looking, hopefully, people can do that and really find out who they really are, in the sense of you're perfect the way you are, in the sense of you are better than you are. You're not something, you're a combination of things, you're better than what you think you are. And if you take that along the line going forward, even with those starts and stops, those false things that happen in your life, those things that are negative, you'll be okay, because it's not going to be dependent on how much money you make or who do you hang out with or, what you buy. It's who you are at the end of the day.
Right. And I think that's how I'd like to leave too, is it's continue to strive for self-improvement in yourself and in your business. And if you lead with that kind of mindset, especially if you've got a business with a team, you're going to be way more successful as well. So I appreciate everybody for chiming in. Don't forget, if you're looking for any kind of business solutions or to have that person in your corner that's committed to success, give me a call. Nathan Wildman, Coffee and Cashflow. Have a great day, everybody. Peace out. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow, and do all of that kind of stuff that all those people tell you. So, all right, I'm gonna send us out with our intro song once again. Oops, what did I hit the wrong one, didn't I? Look, I'm showing myself. There's our live broadcast.
There we go, Nathan.
There we go. Hit play. Bye, everybody.
Gonna kick off the ground with a sip. With the wild man's wisdom, we never skip. Pouring out tips while the records flip.
Let's get it on.
Alpha and Stephen cashing in on the mix. Pour it, baby. Stir it up with the wild man.
Ruin plans in the morning mist. Focus mind, ain't no way I'll miss. Gonna teach, not just tantalize. With Wildman, Cashflow will arise. We in the groove with this cash flow. We in the groove with this cash flow. We in the groove with AI's know how. We in the groove for now. Digitize, AI synchronize. Money talks under watchful eyes. Any time see it turn like high. Oh, change in our pockets, future's clear view with precision. Wild men we pursue. Streams of green flowing in our grasp. AI's in sight, our breath of gas. We on the climb with this cash flow. Wild man's got it. Oh, let the funds roll.
Sipping on this coffee, getting minds right. Watch the numbers rise up like daylight. AI scale the insights, keep the path tight. Find the balance in the sheets, that's the cash fight. Hit the ground running, breaking modes with trending. Chase the paper trails, our pockets always extending. Every cent, every quarter we defending. Modern day hustle in the ledger we be blending. Okay, the vibe so mellow, beats to chill with. Trust in algorithms, let the codes enrich.
Bye, everybody.